This empty chair represents the addict who died today, not knowing recovery was possible.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of The Empty Chair, Exposing Addiction. Before we start off introducing our guests, I'd like to remind all of you that we have well over 20 episodes on YouTube. So if you go to YouTube, search The Empty Chair Show, you can get all of our previous episodes, get caught up, and help us spread awareness of this deadly disease. I'd also like to take 1 minute just to thank all of our volunteers that come down here and make it possible for us to put this show on for you people. And at that, I'm going to let Colleen introduce our guests.
All right. Hi, my name's Colleen. I'm an addict and in recovery, and I'm very grateful that we do this show. I mean, we've had all kinds of guests, from all aspects of addiction, recovery, law enforcement, the courts, politicians, and the list goes on. My favorite shows, personally, are the ones where we have other addicts in recovery on, because it gives me hope, and it shows me that there is life after addiction. There is, happiness and joy and success, for people who work really hard and work their program and stay clean no matter what. So I'm going to introduce our guest, Manny, and his sponsor, Roberto. Thank you for being on. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
It's good to get the awareness out there, get people's stories out there, and to let people know that we do recover.
We don't usually have a whole lot of guys come on our show, too.
No, it's usually a lot of women.
Yeah,
a lot of women.
I'm starting to think you're prejudiced. I don't know.
But I've known Manny for a while, and I'm really glad that you decided to come on. And I guess we can just start with like a little bit of your background. Like when you started using, just a little bit of your story and your history.
Well, yeah, my name's Manny. I'm an addict, and first of all, I'm really nervous right now. But I feel like I felt like when I started watching this show on YouTube, I felt like it was important for me to come on here because it's been a while since I've been able to hear my own story. These last few years have been a really big struggle for me, and trying to get myself back on the recovery track. But pretty much, I'm originally born and raised in Boston, Massachusetts, and I come from a family, a very dysfunctional family, and I've never had really any type of structure in my family. There was absolutely no type of family bonding.
Right.
I never got a kiss goodnight. I never got a welcome home when I came home from school, stuff like that. So it was pretty much, from a very young age, it was I pretty much had to just fend for myself. I have there's 8 of us. I have 4 brothers and 3 sisters, and me being the youngest. It was kind of difficult. It was growing up. It was very real difficult. Like I said, our siblings didn't have no type of bonding. Like we weren't close at all and stuff like that. Grew up very poor. My mom really struggled a lot. My dad was very abusive. He was an alcoholic himself, and he was very abusive to us and to my mom and stuff like that. So I grew up, with a lot of violence in the house.
Yeah.
I was a very angry kid, very angry child. I had a lot of resentments at that young age towards my father and for a long time towards my mom, because I felt like she could have taken us out of that situation a lot sooner. And I blamed her a lot for most of our struggles. It wasn't until later years, until I was older, and I understand the battered women syndrome and stuff like that, that I understood why she stayed. Right. Out of her own fears and insecurities and stuff like that. However, and then I got real close to my mom because, like I said, I understood her struggles. And I understood why she stayed and why she kept us around. And she was pretty much just trying to keep us alive, and keep herself alive, But however, it didn't stop me from building those resentments, man, And as far as my using and stuff like that, I've always believed, even now I believe that I was an addict way, way, way before I used.
Yeah.
Way before I used. It was that gene was in me, man.
Yeah.
You know, because I was, like I said, I was very depressed, very angry, you know, and I was always, even at that young age, I can remember 10, 11, 12 years old, trying to find something to ease, you know, the pain that I was feeling. I was such a depressed kid, you know. I didn't have any type of normal childhood at all, at all. You know, I wasn't in the sandlot playing stickball.
Right.
You know, or playing.
Was there anybody
kickball
positive
down
in
the
your
street.
life at
Not
all?
really.
Not really?
Growing up. No, not
Yeah.
really. I mean, I can't recall having any type of, you know, like I said, most of my brothers and sisters were addicts themselves, and even when, you know, I have a couple you know, siblings that got clean, and they pretty much just detached themselves from the family.
Right.
You know, they detached themselves from that environment, and so when it came time for me to seek that support and stuff like that, it wasn't there.
Well, tell me, all right, you're the youngest.
I'm the youngest.
Okay, so, because we always ask this question, what age were you when you started experimenting?
12 years old.
12 years old.
I was 12.
And you know, it's not unusual.
And it was, and I didn't. It wasn't no gateway drug. I sniffed heroin for the first time when I was 12 years old.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I was in an environment where it was everywhere. You know, all my cousins, all my families dealt drugs and stuff like that, so it was always around. You know, and I remember I stole a bag from one of my brothers. You know, my brothers used to sell, that was back when they used to sell the glassine bags, and my brother had a bundle of glassine bags, and I took a bag out of his stash, and I sniffed the bag, and I thought I was gonna die. You know, I was thrown, you know, it was like the worst feeling. I was so sick. But after all the sickness was gone, and the upset stomach, and the vomiting and stuff was gone, it's like, I was at a place where I wanted to be emotionally. Right. Because all the pain and all the sadness that I was feeling was gone. It just disappeared. It disappeared. It was like I just numbed. It numbed me emotionally. From that very first time that I used, I can recall telling myself, like, wow, this is where it's at, man. Like, this was the solution to the problem that I've been seeking. You know, this little white substance, or actually beige substance, this is the problem. This is solving all my problems right now.
You know, it's unusual that you started, you know, right at the top of the heap there at 12 years old. That's really kind of unusual.
It is.
Yeah. Is it because of the surrounding of your brothers and cousins and everything?
Yeah, that had a big factor in it, but it also because I used to see the people come, like guys the addicts used to show up to the cop the dope off my brother, and they were sick and they were miserable, and then they'd go in the back room, or they go do what they're gonna do, and they come back and they were like a totally different person.
Yeah.
So that caught my curiosity. I'm like, man, where's my brother giving these people that's why can't he do that for me? It's a miracle drug. Why can't he do that? Yeah, I'm like, why can't he do that for me, man? You know, he knows I'm hurting. I'm why can't he do that for me?
So it wasn't that you did whatever was there. You were specifically looking for that. So I mean, if there was something else in that drawer or whatever, you wouldn't have, messed with it. You were going for that miracle drug.
If it would have been anything else, it was whatever my brother was giving these people. That's what I wanted, because I really didn't know much about heroin. I didn't know what it was.
Right.
Or 12 years old.
Yeah, I didn't know what it was. I just wanted that cure, that instant gratification that my brother was giving these people.
Okay, I'll tell you. Now let's fast forward a little bit. All right, you're 12, you started out on that. So let's say when you're 15, 16 years old. Where are you now?
I'm with a needle in my arm, out in the street selling drugs, involved in gangs.
This is in Boston?
By that time I was already in Lawrence.
Okay.
I started out in Boston, I moved to Lawrence, and I was heavily gang involved, and selling drugs in the street, and robbing, doing all the stuff that you need to do to get that next fix, to maintain the habit and stuff.
This is at 16 years
16, old? Yeah, by 16, 17, I was so far into it.
How old are you now?
I'm 41.
You're 41? Okay.
41, yeah. By 16, 17, I was so far into it. Like my whole life revolved around that. I married the drug. Like I had, in my mind, I had a ceremony and everything. I pronounced myself man and wife to the drug and everything. And I've always characterized my relationship with the heroin as a relationship with like you get that when you're 10, 11 years old and you're in the school playground and you see that girl from across the cross. Yeah, I'm serious. You see that little girl from that little blonde-haired, blue-eyed girl across the playground, and your heart starts fluttering and stuff.
So at least at this age here, you're really in love.
Yeah. It was a love affair. It was a love affair with the heroin.
Now let's fast forward a few more years when all of a sudden this love affair isn't so great?
Well, when it turned out, when it started going downhill was when I picked up my first incarceration.
Okay.
I got arrested
Now,
for
how
the
old
first time.
were you on
I was
this one?
19.
19.
Yeah, I was 19. When I was sitting in the back of the cruiser, I was fine. But the next day when I woke up in the jail cell in the Middleton House of Corrections, and I was sick, and there was no possible way of me getting straight. And I had to go through that sickness, and I went through that, and the withdrawals and stuff like that. That's when I realized that, whoa, wait a minute, this stuff is powerful stuff, man.
It's got ya.
It's got me, because up until that time, I was never without. It was always there for me, and I was making so much money with the lifestyle that I was living. I never went without it, so I never experienced that. Right. Being sick for those 2-3 days and those withdrawals, I never experienced it. That was for the first time I experienced it was when I got incarcerated. Yeah. And but it didn't really matter though because even though I physically got clean, and I spent those few months or whatever that I spent in the House of Corrections, I was never exposed to any type of 12-step program or recovery program or whatever. So I never did any work on myself. So when I got out, physically, yeah, I was clean, but emotionally, I was still a mess. I was still a mess, and I was still seeking to cure that.
And everything must have been hitting you because, the childhood was, dysfunctional, and then from 12 to 19, like just using and violence and chaos and everything, and then you get clean, and then you come out, and I imagine you would have been in like, panic mode, so you just kind of go back to what you were
exactly
doing before.
So, we do want to get to the positive aspects of it. So, this is at 19, now you're 41.
Yeah.
When does it really hit you that you're ready to take the step forward and change?
When I was reincarcerated and possibly facing the rest of my life in prison.
And how old were you at this time?
I was 21 when I got reincarcerated, and I was sentenced to a very, very lengthy prison term. I ended up serving 13 straight years. Wow. in the state correctional system. Maybe about 2-3 years into my sentence was when I realized that something's got to change. I was 20. Like by that time I was like 24, 25. I had nothing to show for myself. I was able to sit back and I got introduced to my faith and stuff like that, and I was able to sit back and just reevaluate my life and be like, is this the life that I want to live, man? Like, I'm 20, 23, 24 years old. I'm possibly going to spend the rest of my life in prison, and I've never lived life, man. Like, my life has always been revolved around gangs, drugs, and violence, and that's not what I wanted for myself. I wanted to live.
So even though you knew that you were, you could be facing the rest of your life, you knew that you wanted to, try and make the best of it.
Exactly.
No matter what, and not feel those.
Exactly. I didn't want to feel the pain. I didn't want to feel the sadness anymore. Because even though I was in prison, I was clean or whatever, but I was still involved in the negativity, man. I was still in there hustling
now,
and gambling and stuff.
I know you got some good things going on now. So let's start your road to recovery. It started how long ago?
It started in I got introduced to a recovery program in 2009 while I was incarcerated. I got into the recovery program, and then I also started working a program where I was helping at-risk teens while I was in prison. And that instilled a passion inside of me where I wanted to, because I knew that in order for me to help these teens, I had to better myself, and I had to be a better example. I had to lead by example. I can't preach a certain lifestyle, but yet I'm not living that lifestyle myself. I can't preach happiness, I can't preach peace and serenity if I don't have peace and serenity within myself.
And that must have helped you to help these kids, because that's where you came from. So what better person to help than someone who's walked in their shoes?
Exactly, and it also helped me to feel like I was giving back for all of my past deeds and all my past mistakes that and bad choices that I made back then. I felt like I was giving back, and I was making amends for those actions that I committed back then. And when I was released in prison in 2008 on parole, and I went to a program, and right away when I was in the program, I got involved. Involved in a 12-step program, got sponsors. I started working for a teen center, working with at-risk teens. I went to school. Was trying to get my degree in,
I think that's when I met you, right around that time.
Yeah, when I was working for UTech.
Yeah.
I used to work there and stuff, and that gave me a lot of pleasure, man. It gave me a purpose, man. I didn't have purpose in life, and at that moment in time, I had purpose. I had met a beautiful woman while I was in prison, and we got out and we started a relationship and stuff, and I was doing well. for a while. I was doing very, very well.
I noticed the word for a while.
For a while, yeah, because it's a struggle.
Yes.
And I there was a moment in time where I got complacent, and I felt like I got this. I felt like, okay, I'm in control. I got this disease under control. Now let me try to work it my own way.
Right.
And I removed myself from the process.
Yeah.
And I started working my own process, and that didn't work out too well for me.
So, Roberto, let me ask you now that, as far as like being complacent, in recovery, like what's your take on that?
Well, to be honest with you, as far as complacency, sometimes that happens because you stop doing what you're supposed to be doing.
Right.
And that doesn't stop, that doesn't start overnight. It's over a process of time. When you start feeling little by little, you got control, and then you stay, the longer you stay out of the system, when I say system, out of the recovery process, the more and more you say, oh, I'm okay, because I don't need this program. I've been clean or sober for the last 2 months without going to meetings. So, you know what? Let me just stop going to meetings. Let me spend more time doing something else. Let me get a job now.
Right.
So what I do is I put my recovery in the back burner, where it should be in the front. And by doing that little by little, because sometimes I didn't even see myself going backwards until it was too late.
Right.
So that's what you have to be very vigilant about your recovery process, because if you don't stay on top of this game, the disease will get you.
Absolutely. And do you think as far as complacency, like, getting away from the program, I imagine it'd be hard to kind of like, get back into it, even though you get complacent, you step away from it and you start to not feel so great. And then it's almost like it's hard to get back into that routine that we get so used to doing all the time.
Yeah, one of the reasons for that is because you feel you let them down. You let your sponsees down, you let your fellow addict down because, you pushed away from them. But normally, and it's weird because, we pushing away from the recovery process, not thinking that I'm only hurting myself or I'm only doing this to myself.
Right.
But those addicts who depend on you, when you got the picture, they're the ones who are suffering. And we have to realize that, it's not about us anymore. It's about the next fellow addict.
Right. Not being self-centered anymore.
Yes.
Well, I know a very good man who used to run the psychological center, Joe Cotton. I belong to a family support group that he helped organize, and one of the things he used to try to beat in the parents' head was relapse as part of recovery. As parents, we didn't like hearing that, but unfortunately, through her, so you had the relapse. Do you think that you learned from that going forward, or?
I definitely learned of what not to do. Did I learn to move forward? Unfortunately, I didn't. I mean, I ended up getting a parole violation. I went back to prison. And again, while I was incarcerated, I put myself into an in-house recovery program within the prison.
In Middleton?
No, this was in Shirley.
Oh, okay.
In Shirley, and they had like a residential within the jail, and I put myself in there, and I got myself back on track.
Right.
And then I was released again, and things just did not work out the way that I wanted them to work out. I'm an addict and I want everything done yesterday, and things weren't happening fast enough for me, and because I'm duly diagnosed as well, I allowed my other diagnosis to take over, and I got real depressed, and and I started making excuses for myself and having that pity party, and and poor me, and then I was expecting everybody else to work my recovery but myself.
Well, tell me something. Now, you got how much time clean?
I have 7 months. I'm going on 8 months now.
What do you think makes this time different, or is it different?
Now I truly understand the concept of I am the only one responsible for my recovery. And before I never grasped that concept. Before it was oh, you had to help me, you had to do this, you had to do that. People didn't do it for me, then I just gave up. But now I had to understand that I'm the only one that's responsible. I'm the one who has to chase my recovery.
Well, and I understand that, and I'm glad you brought Roberto with you. I've always been a big fan of the sponsor. What does Roberto being your sponsor mean to you? I mean, what does he?
Well, his unconditional support, never passes judgment on me. I mean, I've felt like I've let him down numerous times, and but yeah, he's still there for me. He's still there when on the other end of the line when I call him. You know, and I mean, I've asked him to be here today, and he's like absolutely. You know, and he's taking me back to Connecticut for the weekend. You know, so I mean, this is just that unconditional support that regardless of how much I screw up,
Yeah.
you know, he doesn't judge me. He's always willing to listen to me. You know, and he doesn't work my recovery for me.
No.
You know what I'm saying? But he guides me in the direction that I need to be guided in. You
Well,
know?
Roberto, I'm sure he's not your only sponsee you've ever had. Now, tell me something. Where he says he keeps screwing up, what is it that you see in him that makes you feel like he's worth the effort?
Because when I was out there ripping and running and using drugs, and I came into the fellowship, the trust fellowship, someone was there to help me along my process. And as many times as I fell, and as many times I picked myself up, that man was always there to extend his hand out to me. He said, never give up on a person because you never know when he's going to stand back up and stand up. And I strongly believe that because for 9 years, my last run, I was out there for 9 years using drugs. So last time I used drugs, this one individual kept on hounding me, kept on following me at the projects, at the dope spot, everywhere. He come looking, Roberto, come back to the rooms. We need you. You are important. And I said, no, I'm not ready. That man for 9 years, he never gave up on me. So who am I to give it to somebody else? When someone did that for me. And that's the only reason why I'm here today, is because that person didn't give up on me. So I believe that everybody, no matter what, how many times they fall, there might be that one time where he stands up. And who am I to take that from him?
Sounds like you picked a good one.
Yeah, and that's what people don't like. You know, that's why I love this show, so people can hear like stories like that man that helped you. And then you're here helping Manny, and now he's here, you know, telling his story, and I know that, you know, that it's like it's gonna like help someone, and then it just keeps going like down the line. Like that's why there's so much hope like in recovery. I know people are, you know, there's a lot of negativity in the press and everything about people dying, and you know, people are probably sick of like hearing it, but they need to hear it. Like they need to hear it, you know. But there is a lot of like hope too, and a lot of like good stories of people just helping, because I'm sure like when you help him, it helps you. I mean, it helps Manny, but it helps you. And now you're here, you know, you drove down to do this show just to give back, you know, because we need to be, you know, not like self-centered today, like more like God-centered and just giving back. And you're right, like people that came before us, like helped us so that we could just keep it moving down the line. Like my sponsor helps me, I help my sponsees, and it just keeps going. Like it's really a beautiful thing. Like when you think about it, we don't get like paid for none of this stuff. Like it's not like our, you know, our job or whatever, but we just do it because it's the right thing to do, and it feels good, you know. And people need to hear about stuff like that.
Okay, and I don't know how much time we have left. I haven't got the fingers yet, so we're still pretty good, I guess. All right, right now, your life, you told, well, we got 6 minutes. You have a child. Why don't you fill us in? I mean, so people know that just because you're an addict, there is a regular, normal family lifestyle after. Tell us where you are right now with your family life.
I'm just putting the pieces back together. I've caused my wife so much harm and you know, and so much heartbreak, and you're just trying to put the pieces back together and gain that trust back from her. You know, it's a little bit of a struggle right now. She's still in a place where, you know, she has a lot of doubts about me and stuff, and that's understandable. You know, it's frustrating for myself because I know that I caused that, you know. But I mean, I love this woman to death, and I love, you know, we have 4 stepchildren, and then I have my little girl with her, and you know, that's something that I want back, you know, and I know it's going to be a process, and I know it's not going to be easy, you know, but as long as I continue to do the right thing, you know, and stay focused and stay committed to this process, then, you know, I know in due time those wounds are going to heal.
Well, that sounds like a change already. You know in due time.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen tomorrow.
I wish it would, but it's not. I still like it to be, but I mean, I understand now that it's not gonna, you know. And like I said, it gets frustrating. It really, I mean, I get frustrated. I still have my moments where, you know, I go through my little rants and raves and stuff like that because, you know, I like, people don't trust me or whatever, whatnot. But then, you know, I'm able to take a step back and be like, you know what, man, you caused this to yourself, man. You know, you're in the position that you're at today because of the choices that you've made, not anybody else has made these choices.
Well, let me tell you, being the parent of an addict, I can sympathize with your wife, obviously, because
Yeah.
it is hard to build
Yeah.
up the trust. But
Yeah.
you want to know something? You're going to get there, and when you do, when you do develop that trust that she'll have in you, it's going to feel really good
Yeah.
for you, for her, like it did with Colleen and I. So I mean, you've had one long journey, and
And it hasn't ended yet.
no,
It's a continuum.
I think we all know whether you're an addict, the parent of an addict, the wife of an addict. We all know that this is a journey that lasts forever.
Yeah.
Look, we only got a couple of minutes. You got a couple of closing statements, either one of you?
I just want to say that, any sick and suffering addict out there that's listening, like watching this show right now, it doesn't matter how many times you fall, man. Just keep coming back.
Good.
Just keep coming back. I'm a prime example of if you stay committed and you keep your eye on the prize, man. Just keep coming back, and eventually it gets better. It's not gonna happen overnight. It can get frustrating, but you just got to stay committed, man. You got to stay committed and really want this for yourself and nobody else but yourself. And I am only responsible for my own recovery. I'm not responsible for anybody else's recovery.
Good for you. Roberto, he's doing okay, huh?
Yeah, for the most part.
Colleen, you want to wrap up?
I just want to thank you guys for coming on again, and I love just doing this show and getting people's stories out there, and like, I don't know, if I have like any message to tell people, and I usually say it like every time we do the show, if you're an addict, if you know someone who's an addict, if you're in a relationship, a family member, anything, don't be ashamed to talk about it. There's plenty of help out there.
That's right.
You just have to just free yourself of that. Just talk about it, because you can't get help if you don't put it out there. And I don't know, like, it's just recovery is awesome. Like, life is good, and there's life after drugs.
That's
There's
right.
really good life after drugs.
A closed mouth don't get fed.
That's right. That's right.
And I would also, like to thank them. And I love the point you made. For you parents at home that think you're in a never-ending battle, that your kid will never get it or whatever like that, here's Manny and others I've known in the past. Some of them, it takes them a long time, but they get it, and I think those are the ones that really get it the best because of the struggles they've been through. So for myself, Colleen, our guests, I'd like to thank you for joining us on The Empty Chair, and we'll see you next month. Bye-bye.